out a little bit more about them shortly. But we're just going to give a few more minutes, just maybe not a few more minutes, few more seconds. Let's not be too generous with the time there. To let other people join us. So do come in and join us. Welcome, Rosie. Welcome, Marlena, if this is how I say your name. She nods. I'll take it as yes, that's exactly how you say it. But if I'm mispronouncing your name, please let me know. I would like to get it right if I can. So there you go. And just to kind of quickly check, where are people connecting from? Marlena, where are you connecting from?
From Madrid, in Spain.
From Madrid. Okay, welcome, Madrid. And Rosie Walker, where are you connecting from?
From London.
From London, okay. Big up London, massive, fantastic. And we've got Larice. Larice, welcome. Where are you connecting from?
Hello, I'm connected from London.
London, wow. So today's a big representation of Londoners. We've got some more people joining as well. Helena, welcome, or Helena, I'm not sure. Helena, please tell me how I say your name and where you're connecting from.
I'm from Barcelona.
Barcelona, fantastic. So it's truly European here, to be honest. So yeah, that's kind of where we're at. Maybe we can do a quick introduction, or we can wait a little bit more for people to come and join us at the Mediactivism European Hackcamp. It's the launch event today. And Rosie, I love the +1 you've got there. So yeah, I think more people will be joining us as we come. So I think I'll just welcome you, and I will hand over to Charlie to do the introduction of the introduction.
Hello. So I'm Charlie Timms. Welcome to Poplar in East London. We're here today at the headquarters, the studios of the People Speak, who are a collective of artists, writers, researchers, academics who for probably at least 20 years now have been finding like interesting, creative, weird ways to get the public and groups of people together to talk about things that kind of matter. And that's why we're here today. As Margot was saying, this is the launch event of the Mediactivism European Hackcamp. If you're going to be a part of that over the next 3 days, welcome. And if you're not, welcome too. Today, this evening, this is going to be all about sort of finding out about right to the city issues and how they kind of occur in cities across the whole of Europe. I mean, right to the city issues, what are they? We're basically talking about issues of displacement in cities, the privatization of public space, the sort of over-tourism in cities, which changes their character, gentrification, big real estate developments, all the kind of issues that result in one group of people feeling as though they are literally or symbolically pushed from their homes. That's sort of what today's going to be all about. I mean, I was going to say that this is a bit of an experiment, but there's nothing really about this that seems particularly experimental. Kind of seems like they've been doing this for quite a long time, but the one thing that can make this experiment successful is if you get involved. If you want to get into the conversation, then get into the Zoom. If you're just watching on YouTube, then say stuff in the chat, and we can make it part of the kind of conversation. So yeah, that's sort of what this is. Get involved, enjoy it, and yeah.
Thank you, Charlie.
I'll be here. I'm not going anywhere.
Yeah, so Charlie is here, and I can confirm he is here. So welcome, everybody. So that was the introduction. And yes, we have people from all over the place joining tonight. And we have also people watching on YouTube. We've got a kind of crowd there. So I will just encourage you guys to get involved in the conversation, like Charlie, I'll just explain a little bit about the formula of tonight. So we are the people speak, and one of our formats is called Talkaoke, which kind of means that it's a pop-up talk show where people decide about questions and direction of the conversation as it unfolds. So tonight, what's going to happen, we're going to hear from 5 different cities about their fantastic projects they've been kind of working on in the cities, piloting new ideas, but mostly piloting new solutions to the cities. So that's going to be very, very interesting indeed. And after each presentation, a little video that goes with it, we will open the floor for conversation and questions for a few more minutes. So please get involved, and if any of the kind of issues kind of strike a chord with you, please share your views, because this is about collectively coming to some interesting solutions about the future of the cities.
And we're going to try and visualize this as well. We've created a map of our fictional city, Soaza Mastok Rubino. Soaza Mastarok Rubino.
That's right. Easily pronounceable.
So we're going to try and visualize some of the ideas as they come up onto our map of the city. So welcome to Soaza Mastarok Rubino, our generic European city.
Yes, so that's where we are today. And I think without further ado, what we might do is to go straight into first presentation, if that's okay with everybody. And also, if you just joined right now, we are going live to YouTube, and the whole thing is being recorded for posterity, so I hope you're okay with that. Awesome. So let's go to the first presentation from Krysia, who's connecting from Warsaw in Poland. So
Hi there.
we'll take it away with the video. And let's see what Warsaw is doing right now.
We are a part of an immense, tangled web of multi-species relationships. We all live in one ecosystem and resonate with each other. From a city perspective, it very often seems that the human being is the most important part of it. But still, even in the very center of the city, remain places that put this point of view into question. Places so swampy and overgrown that humans can only appear there as guests. One such place, called Zakole Wawerskie, is situated at the former meander of the Vistula River. It has been once used as wet pastures and arable land, but since several years, the peat bog is overgrown by dense alder carr from the north and vast reeds from the south. Mosses, alders, spiders, reeds, mosquitoes, snails, boars, ants, beavers, and water have the main voice here. From the very beginning, we wanted to understand this place and find a way of narrating it with consideration to other than human perspectives. Our first intuition was to do it through direct experience, through being on the site. But Zakole is a very wild and inaccessible habitat, also very sensitive. This is why we needed to mediate, find tools that do not disrupt its fragility. We have collected different stories from Zakole and gathered them into a form of a website. The materials are organized in a non-hierarchical manner, which enables creations of personal arrangements and classifications. The material consists of conversation records, documentations of small meetings, and experimental methodologies. The website connects stories from biological sciences and humanities, artistic narrations, and intimate neighborly perspectives. It is an attempt to build a common space for both scientists, artists, and neighbors. We also underline the context of the climate catastrophe and the importance of such places in resisting climate change. We continue inviting people connected to Zakole to co-create its contents. We hope the website will be a support in advocating for the preservation of this ecosystem. The materials that are being published reflect physical actions related to Zakole or events happening directly on the spot, such as experimental walks, interviews, exercises, and workshops involving various cognitive techniques. The aim of their virtual presence is to extend the scope of these intimate and attentive events. We hope that the contents of the website will gradually expand, layering with new perspectives, and eventually becoming a peculiar kind of encyclopedia, a knowledge repository of this place. But there is also another layer in this story, a deep and ongoing conflict about land ownership is developing for over 30 years. The landowners urge the city to make a decision on the future of this terrain, either allowing constructions or financing buyouts of the plots they own. For many people, Zakole remains a synonym of neglect and danger. Through the website, we would like to give an opportunity to look at this place from a different angle and experience it from many different perspectives, also those non-human ones.
Thank you very much for this. You're even getting a round of applause there from the get-go. Krisha, so thank you very much. So, yes, so that's where we are. Krisha, maybe just say hello so people know where you are on the screens.
Yeah, hi everybody. I'm here.
So welcome and thank you for putting this video together. So it sounds like a really fabulous project, but it sounds like a project that's the area you're talking about is almost endangered, almost kind of like surrounded by the developers. And I guess anyone, obviously, if you guys have questions, please throw them in the chat or kind of chime in. But I was wondering, Krisha, what's going to happen with the developers kind of closing in on Zakole? What do you think the future holds for the wetlands?
Yeah, well, that's a big question for us because one thing is that the city is not eager to buy out plots because it's nearly the center of the city. It's a lot of money, but the city already knows that it's a very precious place, a very, very precious and multi-species habitat. So now the situation is unclear because even if the place stays as it is right now, it can get more and more dry with time because the buildings are getting very, very close to the swamp. So the land is getting more dry, and we are afraid that even if there will be no constructions there, the spot might not survive. So what we are aiming for is a very profound and wise hydrological analysis of this place and some kind of negotiations for the future between landowners, between the city, and between all the more than human actors.
Okay, so we are kind of map-wise, we're soon going to see the map where we are on our big map of the city that I just cannot pronounce.
So as a Master Rock Robino.
Thank you, Mikey. But I had I'm just kind of interested because it seems to me like the developers, they are kind of interested in making profit and that kind of stuff. But is there a way in which we can almost monetize or make it more appealing for the, you know, developers to support the wildlife, to support all these different kind of non-human perspectives? Is there a way in which we can make it, you know, somehow profitable for them? Is that even is that a solution? How can we kind of you know, maybe stop their constructions altogether? I mean, what would be the dream, Krisha? And in fact, maybe if anyone has got something different.
We need the help of the whole of Europe here. So
I think the Council of Europe, you're representing the entire continent there, guys. So what is the solution there?
Well,
go on, Krisha.
one thing is sure that it's maintaining the site is a profit for not only beavers but humans as well. And you know, we have lots of problems with air pollution, with drying land, and with heat in the city. So I think when you take into account all those stuff, then it's a really easy solution. But I don't.
So is the solution to employ more beavers with a kind of moist perspective in the hierarchies of the city? Is that what we need more of? It seems to me like that wouldn't be a bad idea. They seem to know what's going on. I'm going to just very quickly go to Georgia. I think, Georgia, you've got a suggestion.
When watching the video, that's what I was wondering when you said making it more inclusive for the habitats and giving them a voice. How would you go about that? And then I also wanted to jump off of sort of what Margot was saying is like, what right do they, well, it would go on from like the species that already live there. Like, what right do we have to the space? And like, yeah. And then also wanted to throw it out there to all the other cities. Do you have any solutions that are actively working for something similar? I don't know if Christina wants to respond or someone else.
So any kind of suggestions that anybody kind of recognizes that issue from their own perspective? We've got about 2 minutes of this conversation, so give us some tangible.
I mean, there's also wetlands in Sawaza Master Grabino, which
as
are
it happens,
behind,
yeah,
as it
very
happens.
true.
So it's not just a Warsaw issue, but I think there's also a question about, you know, can the rights of non-humans actually be monetized? Can it fit into this capitalist system that Mayor Petridis is so keen to expand? Or is it even really possible, or is it just something that capitalism can't handle?
Okay, is that capitalism not prepared for the kind of revolution of the wildlife? Are we just taking ourselves a little bit too seriously as people? Do we need rebranding as a humankind slightly? Do we need to present a slightly more dumbed down version of ourselves to kind of really get with the habitat? Like, what are the kind of suggestions out there? Laura, I can see you've got your kind of hand there, but it may have been just moving your hair. I don't know. I think that's exactly what it was. And Lorenz is doing the same. But is there anything that we kind of missing here?
And does it relate to your particular city as it relates to Warsaw and Sawaza Masterok Grabino? Does it relate to your city too?
Or should we just kind of, maybe, you're talking about the website there, Krisha. I mean, should we just create holograms of nature? Maybe that is the way forward. Just remove the kind of natural, fleshy, green elements. Just replace that by hologram. I mean, it's all, you know, technical. I don't know what the sound is. Sounds like a...
That's the diggers coming in.
I thought it was the turbo beaver just like cutting the tree like really fast.
Well, I can just comment. I can't answer to those questions. They are way too big. But what I can say about the things we are doing is we are trying to really work on joining the artistic and scientific perspective. And what is our main focus now is how to make a bigger scale with meetings that are very, very sensitive and very, you know, very close and very delicate. So that is our main focus now, and we would like to carry out roundtables that include different people, neighbors, politicians, and activists, and try to use the methods we have been using during the project during the consultation process. So
it's about kind of almost replicating or kind of mirroring what's happening in an ecosystem already. You're kind of about connecting different kind of parties in this whole conversation. It's not just the activists, it's not just the aforementioned beavers, it's wider, it's the politicians, it's other organizations in other cities. So can we use maybe technology to have those roundtable conversations in order to preserve the intimacy of those little spaces that are so vital for our cities? I mean, I feel like I'm there. So obviously it's very hard to come up with all of the solutions. Krysia, I think you've done a really tremendous job. They're trying. We're gonna, I think if it's okay with everyone, we're gonna move on to the next video. Thank you for the rounds of applause, guys. Charlie, is there anything you want to kind of pop into the conversation about them?
Well, I just wanted to say that I think it's a beautiful idea. I think we're so used to thinking of like green spaces and parks in cities as being like things that are there to sort of serve people. That, you know, there's sort of there are things, there are possessions, and it is quite a sort of it's a pretty revolutionary shift of perspective to think of those spaces as belonging first to the kind of to ecosystems and to the natural world. It's a delicious shift in like how we think about them.
I think our studio-based owl is very happy with that. Would be very happy with that. Maybe next time we do this, it's her in the middle of the stable, not me. But anyway, enough about that. We're gonna now neatly make a segue to Seville, and we're gonna hear about some fantastic ideas popping up there. So Lucas, I think you're gonna talk us through it, and we'll watch the video. So take it away.
Thank you. Hello. So I'm Lucas, and what you can see there behind, that will start in a second, right? You have it there. Are the beginnings of the videos that were produced in the framework of Patio 108, which is the activities, the campaign that we produced in Seville for a few months during the end of 2020. And it was a campaign raising testimonies, video testimonies for people from different places in Seville. As you can see here, these screenshots that are being shared right now, Seville in the last few years, if you understand Spanish, you will understand. If not, I will explain you. In the last few years, tourism has become a problem for citizens in Seville. It has underlined a lot of different problems that were already there, but are bigger now somehow. Precariousness and poverty have deepened somehow because tourism is a sector that is very poorly paid. Housing has risen for the 31% in the last 4 years or 5 years. And that's because there has been a huge rise of tourist apartments. There's a guy in Seville that says that there's one public space in Seville left. But we think that there's no public space anymore because the city has turned into some sort of a theme park. The heritage of the city, which is very important for the inhabitants and for the history of the city, is right now completely collapsed, or has been for the last few years collapsed with tourism. And the wealth is concentrated, the wealth that tourism has produced is concentrated in very few hands. But that was like for 4 years before the COVID crisis, so to say. But when we started the pandemic, we had this news in the newspaper saying that the city council would spend €2 million to rebrand the city. And this video in here, what you can see, was launched like 1 week ago, a few days ago, or something like that. And it portrays like the new brand of the city, so to say. It's basically gathering like this traditional side of Seville, this traditional view of Seville, with this modern side. And this idea, this very idea of this very image of Seville is what we wanted to deconstruct somehow. So this, what you're seeing here now, is a group of people that were part of our Right to the City Labs, which are part of a collective in Seville called Hartura, and Samuel Fernandez, who is already in the call. So maybe some of the questions, if you have any, we can answer them together. And we were wondering what we could do to transform or to think of a different Seville than the one that was portrayed constantly through city brands and that was used in tourism. And the result of that was Patio 108, which is this website and the campaign that we produced, in which we asked for any citizen in Seville to share their story related with how they felt Seville or how they thought Seville was living, what were the needs that they had as neighbors of different neighborhoods that were not in the city center. So we wanted to move the image of Seville from the city center to the outskirts of the city. And we asked them for 12 different categories, so to say. There are many categories they could contribute with, but we shared with them, or we asked them to contribute about urban space, about feminisms in the city, about diversity in the city, and about like culture, some other topics. So the idea was that, the idea was to ask them to contribute and to send short videos recorded with a selfie camera, and to share somehow, or to share, yes, to share denounces related with the neighborhood, with the closest space they were living, but also memories related to the city that were somehow hidden by this official way of viewing the city, and also desires for the future, so to say. So this was the basic idea that we produced with Patio 108, and it was a very long process because we wanted to make some physical events, etc., but we couldn't because of the pandemic, and we had to turn everything into digital, and that took much more time than expected. But it was a great experience for us because we learned a lot, and we create a small community of citizens in Seville, rethinking the way we talk and we view our city somehow.
All right. Thank you so much, Lucas. Thank you. Getting a round of applause. And thank you for this great presentation there. So this is kind of, this is a great initiative. Sounds like it was, you get a round of applause from Malena as well. And I should say that if you guys want to speak or you want to applaud someone and you want to press the applause button, we will not hesitate and trigger off this sound effect so that, people know that you are applauding them. Yeah. But it sounds like the project is really vast and you really kind of have given it time to develop. Oh, there's loads of rounds of applause now. I think people are testing us. And I kind of wonder, particularly you mentioned about the COVID aspect. I mean, is the time now to be, I'm going to be very provocative here, to be so selfish and not think about the city's recovery from the pandemic? And not, is the rebrand just a natural progression? I mean, every European city is suffering as a result of the pandemic. Is it just the fastest route to address these, precarity issues and that kind of stuff that you mentioned at the beginning? And also on our map, I think we're just going to go.
Yeah, we've actually, Sawaza Master Rock Grabino is actually also having a rebrand. Sponsored by, we've got Tourist Zone as well, and our rebrand is sponsored by Pepsi as well.
Oh, I think I'm not on brand here.
But that's been very, very successful, I can say. Yeah. Anyway,
thank you, Mayor. But yes,
it looks amazing, the city. So I don't know if Samuel, who is also in the call, wants to answer the question, but I can give a very short answer, and maybe we can give room to Samuel because he was also part of the project and he can answer the questions as well as I am doing it. I think And we thought and we felt the COVID crisis as a very good opportunity to rethink our productive model. So there were like a few months in there that weren't used, or the feeling that we have is that they weren't used at all to rethink what economy are we trusting in? Because what the COVID crisis unveiled somehow is that the tourist industry is very fragile. And tourism comes now to Seville, but it can go in the next 10 years to any other city because of anything that happened, not just COVID, but it can also happen with the rebranding of another city, and tourists start moving to different places. So we thought that these months were a good opportunity to rethink about that and to start investing slowly in a controllable and in a meaningful way to other industries. And that was our purpose when we were starting doing this. So start thinking about needs and goals of the city, not just in terms of small denounces, but also in terms of the model of the city. How do we want to invest the coming years and months? And
so I guess what I'm picking up from what you're saying, Lucas, is like there's the initiative to kind of almost decentralize, the main interest points in the city, spread it out, take it to the outskirts. You don't know what's out there, no worries, just ask these people. They've already recorded the stories. This is the local history. And you're kind of thinking about how to rethink the tourism and get almost maybe every person in every house outside of the city centre to be like a local tour guide, which actually links with something that we've done here in London. But that's maybe for another time. But you kind of, so you're really kind of like decentralizing it. And actually you're saying maybe there is an opportunity to rethink the tourist industry. But we've got Mayor Petridis here from the city, the unpronounceable city.
It's Master Rock Rabino. What's the problem?
Absolutely.
I think we're thinking about just making it SMBGB as the rebrand. But anyway, that's in the pipeline. The main point here is, do you see this, Lucas, as a kind of legislative thing where you're kind of like limiting things like Airbnb and you're limiting tourism, or is it more about investing in other industries and other forms of tourism that are not so concentrated in the city centre?
I think that question can be answered by Samuel if he wants to.
All right.
Welcome, Samuel.
Hello,
You've
everyone.
got the answers.
All right.
He has the answers, exactly.
So, answering the question, basically our idea was to challenge the official narrative of the town hall, and this idea of the rebranding of the city being based on exclusively the tourism sector, and the fact that we are a city that is pretty much enjoyed by tourists. Actually, what we tried to do was to honor the very concept of the right to the city as it was originally expressed and theorized, back in the 1960s. So what we proposed was kind of an experiment in kind of radical democracy, by which people would express their views on not only on tourism, but on many other issues that are being left out of the agenda of the municipal government. That was the idea. Actually, the original design was pretty much focused on tourism, but then it spread as soon as we realized that the COVID pandemic changed it all. So there was a new need, and we needed to basically provide the tools, the digital tools, to create kind of a virtual agora that was ephemeral, that lasted only for 3 months, but that managed to gather at least some testimonies. That was the idea.
Mm-hmm.
So your feeling is if the citizens have more of a voice, then they will shape it themselves, and they will be able to address the problems with the right tools and the right voice.
Absolutely. The whole platform, the idea behind the platform, the goal behind the platform was to prove that self-management and collective thinking and a radical rethinking of the city is possible. Not only possible, but needed, much needed in these times.
Okay. So there's that, and you mentioned about the right to the city, which is a kind of core theme of today. And maybe there are different kind of stakeholders in it, but of course the voice of the people the residents is something that just cannot be forgotten. That has to kind of drive some of these conversations, and apparently it works. I mean, I want to kind of bounce it out to maybe other people and also people around the table here in the studio. I mean, have you seen kind of positive kind of working examples of when it's the residents who took control and moved things along with the local government? Have, maybe examples of decisions being overturned? I know we're going to hear about it in terms of one of the presentations without revealing too much. But is that the right approach? Is it possible as a blanket approach across all European cities? Can we truly pass it on to the residents themselves?
Do we trust these citizens?
Yeah.
To not mess it up.
Yeah. The collectives. I mean, is it possible to make a decision in a collective?
Yeah.
Okay, we've got some trust and some distrust around this virtual Talkaoke table, which I didn't mention, but the thing I'm sitting inside of is the Talkaoke table, which is an illuminated donut. But enough about that. Charlie, is there anything that you want to kind of throw in about the dangers of tourism or rethinking tourism?
Well, yeah, I was just thinking it's funny, isn't it? Sometimes like a city develops a brand or an identity and like people really react against it. And sometimes people sort of take it to their hearts. I think in the 1980s, Glasgow, I think they came up with a slogan. It was something like Glasgow smiles better, and people loved it. They were sort of painted it on the side of buildings, it was like it was a kind of like a badge of honor for people who. But I guess I was kind of wondering, like, is it possible to imagine something like that in Seville, or is it just, are things so far gone that like that there's no room for that kind of sort of idea? Yeah.
So can Seville rebrand the city in a kind of way that the citizens, the residents actually want? Can you join a big, collective? Join a big collective. Come to Seville, to neighboring areas, and join a big collective. Would that sell the city? Do we need to just put the emphasis elsewhere? Come and eat at the big table, big round orange table.
I think Georgia wants to say something.
Georgia.
I was just going to ask you, with the thing with Glasgow, do you think it was because the people of Glasgow came up with the idea, or I don't know?
Well, the thing is, I don't think they did. I think it was probably, it probably came from an ad agency.
Okay.
So do we need to involve the citizens in the kind of a rebranding exercise? Who knows? These are just some of the suggestions. Unless somebody's got a pressing solution they want to throw in, as Mayor Petrilli is here.
Yeah, I mean, I think some of it can also be about ownership as well. If people feel like they own the decisions, even if they're not, they're not universal, that sense of participation, I think psychologically is important. Is as important as the facts of participation, like the fact that people feel like they're part of it and they don't feel it. So the feeling, I think, is very important, just as the actual decisions.
Okay. Thank you, Mayor. I can see that you've changed your name. That's very, very good. Yes, so the sense of ownership. I mean, how do we give this to the residents? We don't know. I think you know. So hopefully we'll talk about that soon. But I'm going to move us on a little bit. We're going to come to Lorenza and Laura. If you are ready, they're nodding. You guys are in Turin. I think congratulations, first of all. On the account of Eurovision, of course. So just, thank you for the gift of this song, of this victory. And we're going to play your video, and feel free to let us know about your project, and take it away. Oh, Laura, we're really, really sorry. We're going to have to pause because we can't hear you. You're not muted, but you may have to reconnect to the sound.
Okay, I can speak in behalf of Laura?
Oh, yes, we can hear you now, Laura. Well done.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be a Zoom meeting if this didn't happen. So thank you for that.
Of course. Don't worry. Now I can sing also the Eurovision Song Contest song by Maneskin, the best one. So, okay, you can put the video now if you wanna. Thank you. So I will show you a little bit of our project, me and also my partner Lorenzo. Actually, we are the newest one because we enter inside the Mediactivist project only in January of this year. And on the initial phase of this project, through various meetings, like the one that you can see, we worked with Turin citizens who had different background and experience. This phase was focused on to try to understand which rights young people missed in their own city, and also to reflect on the structural changes that have taken place in Turin in the last recent years. Also, to take note of the changes that have taken place in other cities and to understand which ones could also be applied in Turin. To raise awareness to participants who have common needs and visions on the city's problem, to make the participant to understand who press and who interface with the answer that a change is implemented, to give them the tools to understand and formulate possible media action. Thanks to this reflection, a very deep reflection and deep brainstormings with the people that actually they doesn't know each other, so they came for participate in our project. 3 different media actions to be developed have been identified to support 3 different cases in Turin city that Lorenzo will explain you now.
Yes, Laura. Here we are in southern Turin, where a group of activists made a deal with the city council. Actually, it is a new kind of deal that is possible in Turin since 2016, in order to transform illegal urban gardens into a legal community project. When the project started, part of the abusive farmers abandoned the place, but part of them decided to stay and to help the activists who are now involving other citizens in creating their own garden. And the group is now realizing a video to show how the project works and to show how participants' life has changed after taking over a piece of ground in the city and start producing their own food. There we go to the opposite side of the city, at the northern margin of Turin, where a group of youngsters are facing big issues in realizing events in public spaces because of new restrictions. In fact, the city government is now fearful to license public events after a stampede at the screening of a Champions League final in 2017 left 3 people dead and injured over 1,500 people. They are making a video with old and new citizens to tell about past events that took place in the city and now are blocked. This video should help them to raise people awareness about this issue, and later they would like to create a network of citizens and organizations to press the government to change this law. In the suburbs of Turin, some youngest gave birth to a very personal evolution of trap and real hip-hop music. They are mainly living on council estates, and their family are of Moroccan or Tunisian origins, as well as Kurdish, Senegalese, Romanian, and Italian, to name a few. After the spread of COVID-19, the neighborhoods have been militarized since day 1 of lockdown, basically, and police and governmental forces have built a process of criminalization of these youngsters who usually spend their life in the streets, also helped by populist and sensationalist narrative of the official media, which has defined them as criminals and animals. A group of guys from a local online radio involved two young Romanian trapper, Vandal and Argo, in the production of a radio podcast in order to give them a chance to speak out their thoughts and express their creativity.
Awesome. Thank you so very much, Lorenzo and Laura, for this quick introduction to, gosh, quite a bunch of projects actually in the end. But what I really loved about them, you are involving young people in co-creating the project and almost passing on you are kind of putting in question whether young people have the right to the city, and particularly also the last project focusing on the migrant communities. Do migrants, as generally in your cities, do they have access to the city? Are they kind of feeling safe and secure? Is there more that we can do about it? And is the music a way forward, or what was it about? Do we need young people to kind of grow up, step up, and meet the local politicians on the level to really implement those changes? Are we just asking young people to grow up really quickly? I don't think that's trap, but it's a good track. Okay, you want to give us a little bit more? How did you find working with young people? Were they easily did they want to participate quite easily, or did you have to persuade them to get involved?
Well, it wasn't easy to start, also because of COVID. There were no occasion or few occasion to meet people in the street. So after some unsuccessful trying, in the end, we got contact with this young trapper, and we made it possible to collaborate. And well, a nice thing that is happening is in somehow we are a group of favorite song, we can say, of the city council. Instead, these guys are somehow considered as a treat, and the project gave us the opportunity to meet and to create a link with two groups that wouldn't meet. And the result is that we are enjoying.
What I'm going to pick up from what you were saying, Lorenzo, is you almost kind of started almost like a youth rebrand exercise. We're talking about the rebrand of the city. Maybe young people get too much of a bad rep. Can we rebrand youth? Can we turn them maybe into Mayor Petrides?
Interesting. So as a Master Rock Grabina, we've also got some outlying areas with high immigrant populations, and we do find that music and culture is a good way to engage these young people, but how do we turn that music and culture into something that's real, something that's concrete, for want of a better word? And maybe we should go to some of the concrete areas on the map as well, as we're talking about the outskirts of the city. Rick?
So are we, do we need some concrete solutions how to kind of turn the creativity and culture into something that pushes the city forward and addresses some of the issues out there? Are young people, if there are any people who class themselves as young people out there, I can definitely see one brushing her teeth right now. But do young people feel like, does the city matter? Is this more about your own place there? Has it always been like, what has it been like when you were younger? Who knows? But yes, so how do we turn this creativity, this potential into something that addresses the issues? Can we decriminalize some of their activities that are associated with youth just purely because of their bad reputation? Is teaching young people about media skills, is that going to help them get a job with the city rebrand office a few years down the line? Are we creating jobs for them? Are we, these are all the kind of questions out there on the table. And to you, Lorenzo, and to you, Laura, I mean, especially from this kind of like media production side, because people were kind of documenting the process and kind of mapping, you know, how people's lives had changed as a result of some of these initiatives. I mean, what did the young people make out of these, you know, these skills that you taught them? Was that something useful, something new to them, or they, you know, did they teach you things?
I can go, Lorenzo, okay?
Thank you, Laura.
Thank you. So I think the important thing is to understand that you have to go to search the young people. It's not that you have to wait to for them to go and search you, because they don't need you. You need them. So you have to find them and go straight to their own home, neighborhood, even if it's a dangerous one, a bad one, but you have to go and search them. And after that you do this, you have to understand that for growth, they need responsibility. So they already have some, they don't know, they know how to do things with creativity, but the important thing is to them to be responsible to something. If you give them the responsibility, they will be part of the community, because this project, the goal of this project is to understand that you are a part of the community, and you need to find your right to the city, to search your right to the city. But before to do that, you need to give the citizen a ownership, a responsibility, because in this way you understand that you are part of the community and you can ask for good right, a new one.
So it's about, it's not waiting there for young people to come forward. It's about going to these areas, maybe areas of bad reputation, and kind of face the danger, like we've got it kind of being faced there with a representation of the big danger.
We've got some dangers in Suaza Master Rock.
You do, yeah. I mean, there are some dangerous areas, but I mean, are we just drawing assumptions that this is where young people are? But how do we make it safe for them to kind of link with positive initiatives? How do we teach responsibility? Could young people who have gone through your workshop, could they then teach responsibility to the likes of Mayor Petridis and all the kind of local governors who maybe just need a bit of a refresh of what responsibility for the local residents actually means. So that's kind of where we're at. Is there anything else to kind of throw in there about involvement of young people in the city? And yeah, just the areas which are maybe deemed unfriendly, unwelcoming, dangerous. Can we change that somehow?
Well, I was thinking, can I say?
Of course.
I was thinking that, Mayor Petridis might actually quite like Lorenzo and Laura, because, they're taking like illegal activity like the dodgy gardens, and they're turning them into like nice sort of like legal gardens. They're going out and working with kids who make quite sort of like dangerous, like edgy music that some people find quite threatening, and they're sort of bringing them into sort of making, doing stuff on radio stations. I mean, I kind of wonder whether, Lorenzo and Laura sort of feel that they're like kind of making things that are a bit dangerous and a bit edgy, a bit safe. And like maybe do they ever feel conflicted about that?
Yeah, so do you feel conflicted about maybe taking the rough edge of something that's got that kind of, rebellious angle on it? Is that kind of what you mean, Charlie?
They're taking things from the fringe and sort of making them
more kind of
acceptable.
Right.
Why should they?
Are you making things too acceptable? Is everybody just going to drop trap music because you're going to make it really nice? and yes, Mayor.
Are you taking the claws out of the tiger's paws?
Thank you for this, Mayor.
Yeah.
Obviously. I mean, and what about those kind of like reinvigorating cities with the events post-COVID? I mean, is responsibility extending to young people kind of stepping in and saying, this is what we want to do and this is how we want to do it safely? I mean, is that something the local government would approve of? Are young people still kind of on the fringes in your cities, or are they being considered? These are all the things kind of out there. Lorenzo and Lara, you're welcome to respond before we move on, and we will be moving on shortly.
I'm going, Lorenzo, or you want to go? Because we are two, so we have to. Okay. So the first point that we want, maybe is the same in other city. We don't know. This is the situation in Turin right now. We wanted to involve the young citizen, the youngest, and we understand that the right thing to do is going to their neighbor and create something there. So the important thing when you say create something, create new places, is that we understand that in Turin especially, everything is connected in the city center. And this is actually very bad because in this way, only the city center live and have a life. Oh, I'm sorry. I have to finish.
No, it's okay, it's okay. No,
Okay. No, it seems that a big city have only a city center. Where the tourists have to go, all the citizens have to go to the city center, but actually the neighborhood is very alive, and you have to understand only which make neighborhood alive. So we understand that in Turin there is a neighborhood where the agriculture is very a way that connects the community, so they create a urban garden. We understand that in other neighborhood where is a lot of immigrants and youngest citizen from immigrants family, they live with music. So we understand that we have to go in this neighborhood because the music is the one that put together the community. In another neighborhood, we understand that create events is very important because the events, and in this case, this neighborhood is very far from the city center, and create events, even the smaller one, make the community together. So we understand that in every neighborhood of city, except the city center, there is something that make these neighborhoods special, and we have to understand how to put all these neighborhoods together, because only in this way you can create a better city, and understand that the city is composed also with a lot of neighborhoods and not only a real city center.
I really love that point, Laura. It's about kind of like connecting, but also finding out what makes each neighborhood tick. So don't just randomly come up with a project about music where people are just clearly into urban gardening, and it's kind of like going in there and finding out what kind of makes that neighborhood so particular and so great, and kind of try to connect that. And I really love that kind of idea of maybe, things go through the center, but again, just the idea of maybe, are there other ways of connecting ideas, but also locations around the city, neighborhoods around the city, but maybe following a map of creative sparks, creative ideas, as opposed to, a train line. Okay, Laura and Lorenzo, thank you very much for this. You're going to get a round of applause if that's right. There you go. All right, people, and there's a Lucas sending also a round of applause. Okay, we're going to move right on to Eva. Eva in Zagreb. Eva, are you with us?
Yes, I'm here.
Eva is definitely there. So whenever you're ready, we are ready to play the video, and just take it away and tell us about your project in Zagreb.
Thank you. I'm ready. You can go. Well, first of all, this is not a project. Actually, this is our story that I'm talking about now, about 15 years of actions and 15 years of organizing that have led us to this day, to like now, where we have won a majority in our local elections, and we are a few days away from getting our own mayor from the lines of activists and people who have fought for right to the city for 10, 15, and 20 years. Our story started in the beginning of the 2000s, which was a very particular time for our region over here after the 90s and the war and privatizations and shock therapies that we have gone through. A new generation actually started working against further privatizing our land, our spaces, our city, our streets and parks. And we organized through different kind of movements, through different actions, and through different stories about the city, stories about workers' rights, stories against commercialization of education. And we actually created networks that work together throughout the city, but also around Croatia, that had the main the main issue was, the main story was to stop privatizing and austerity measures and to finally get rid of the nationalistic and corrupt way that our country and our cities are governed. So Right to the City was one of the biggest stories in this kind of, well, I see the question here, Zagreb je naš. It means Zagreb is ours. Zagreb is ours is a platform, a municipal platform that we created in 2017 that stems from Right to the City movement. And in 2017, we have won some seats in the city parliament and neighborhood councils. And started actually working also through as activists on one side and also as people who are in city councils and city parliament and all of those on the other side, say. So we have continued to work. As you can see, we have always worked with this kind of attractive actions and also through organizing people, through organizing neighborhoods and neighbors to fight against capital taking over their living space. From 2017 to 2021, we have actually gained more and more members and formed two political parties, one municipal and one national. And we have now in the local elections that we had, the first round of local elections a week ago, we have won Zagreb with outright majority in majority of neighborhood councils. We have won majority in 16 quarter kind of city regions, and we have won outright majority in the city parliament. And we are poised to get our mayor this week on this Sunday. So as you are seeing here, these are also, we have used all the tactics that were available to us during these years to show the problems that are present in the city. We have used very kind of this artistic and I don't know, actions that were gathered media attention. We have created this kind of put it on the agenda that privatization and austerity measures are something that is not desired, and we have organized around them. Also, what you're seeing in the previous pictures is what had happened to us in 2020. Along with COVID, we had two very strong earthquakes, which actually showed the full emptiness of this kind of neoliberal governance of the city and lack of systems to help people. So this really helped our story and our idea that we need to organize and to work on different levels and to create a different kind of city, and helped us with this election process, which I'm happy to say we have, kind of killed it.
Amazing. Nothing pleases me more than citizens killing it. Fantastic. Thank you very much, Eva. Very fantastic presentation there, and lots of stuff there. I mean, obviously, I think it's fair to say that the artists and activists, they make great visual protests, but can they actually run the city? Yes, you're winning the election, but can a collective of artists and creators actually run the city? Are they going to take a plunge? I think there was a picture of a plunger there earlier. Can they actually do it? Do you what would be like the next steps, Eva? I mean, to make sure that people stay on this journey, because I think your campaign really proved that you can gain that kind of media attention. You can inspire people to come along on the journey. But when does the real work start? What's going to happen once you're in government?
Well, don't let the pretty pictures fool you. We have been working for 15 years. So it's not only, it's using different kind of tools. We have, as you say, we have artists, but we have also different kinds of people. But to your more to your point, say, can people do it? I think one of the things that we strongly believe in is that if you live in a neighborhood, you know what neighborhood needs. So on that kind of level, who else is better to govern than the people who are living there and who are active? But in terms of sitting in city government and sitting in city parliament, there is a lot of knowledge that actually had not had opportunity to go into the institutions. So with this kind of change, we are opening up spaces for people to actually come into the institutions and work rather than we had for 20 years city governance that was based on clientelistic networks. So our big promise there is knowledge is here, it just needs to be applied.
Okay. That's fantastic. And I think it's an interesting, you mentioned about these 2 earthquakes as well. I don't think that was widely reported. I mean, were the earthquakes almost like a metaphor for what was going on in the city? Was the kind of nature kind of responding to what was happening in the city, that all the kind of maybe corruption, who knows, going on, and maybe that was kind of nature's way of saying that I was going to say finger of God, but I'm not going to say that. Finger of blizzard.
Well, hopefully nature is not like an Old Testament God. It's just a coincidence. Well, actually, that can be used as a nice metaphor, because center of the city, actually, a lot of its facade crumbled, and a lot of people lost homes, and it became obvious that this kind of neoliberal city that actually doesn't have its institutions working, that is based on kind of clientelistic relations, it can work when you have business as usual. But once the crisis came, and we had twofold crisis, then it became obvious that that kind of governance is not going to sustain us and is not going to help us. So the model that we offered with this kind of decentralizing power and recreating our institutions actually rang true, and I think it's shining bright.
So I think maybe what I'm picking up as well from what you're saying is maybe people are kind of fed up with the old structures. Maybe people don't dig the bishop anymore. They want to move on. They want new, fresh initiatives. Nature wants to kind of be also probably part of it as well. Maybe we could arrange some kind of a wetland there as well, if the parts of the center are kind of crumbling. But I think what your kind of project is kind of showing is that it is possible to, over longer period of time, to build enough infrastructure and drive to actually take over power. So do you have any advice to other cities as to how to kind of, to kind of help this initiative take off in other cities? Where should people start?
Oh man, start to organize. I don't know. I mean, we're not the only ones. The same thing happened, I guess, in cities like Barcelona and Madrid to a certain kind of success. We will see if we are going to be successful. But we have, been on the path of organizing and creating networks for like 15, 20 years. So it's a long process. That's what I can say.
How important is the artistic side? Because in those images we saw so many different artistic manifestations to actually engage the imagination of the people, because you feel like they're actually very much imaginatively engaged in your movement. Is it? I mean, is that a big plus, or does it sometimes get too artistic and obscure the political side?
Well, maybe some actions are better, some are worse. You can never, like, it's never perfect.
Experiment,
but it's yeah. But the thing is that, you know, when we started with this, it was a time over here where privatization, we gone through, you know, from socialism to capitalism. So privatization was not a dirty word, and nobody was listening to us. So we used very attractive actions in order to gain media attention and to gain people's attention. Yeah, so that was, that's how we used.
I think that's really kind of dense. Charlie, you've got something to throw in there?
Yeah, I just wanted to sort of ask like how it feels. I mean, people sort of on the left, you know, they tend to sort of believe in like these sort of the inevitability of like you know, the arc of justice is long, and it's like finally it's sort of happened. You're sort of there. Does it kind of feel weird? Is it like, oh well, we always knew this was going to happen, or does it feel like a dream?
Did you believe? Did you know that? Did you believe in this revolution is going to come during your lifetime?
Yeah.
Well, I believed, as a friend of mine said, like, I believed that this is going to happen since I was like 10 years old, but I just didn't know that I was going to be a part of it. But yeah, more to answer Charlie, yeah, we're like, it's not a euphoria over here. It's scary, but it's also exciting. And yeah, there's a big burden on our shoulders right now.
Thank you so much, Eva. I mean, there's so much more that we could be talking about here, and as is the case with all the other projects we've heard about, but I must press on because this is my big moment where I will pronounce the town that Luis is from in a correct Polish way. Buczyrka.
Yeah, thank you very much, Margot. Buczyrka is the name.
So Luis is going to tell us how he's done things in Buczyrka, and we're going to cue up the video and take it away, Luis.
Cheers! Thank you very much, Margot. So yeah, it is Swedish, but you know, Buczyrka, it's the name of the place where we're at. So I think I'm going to do it more like Eva did it. Tell you the story of why, how we work with this, and I guess we also have a 15 years back history when our media house started, and this is the project that I'm gonna highlight today. So and as you can see, it's a gardening project, so I'll get back to that. But firstly, I just want to tell you that we have 15 years having this media house in a suburb. I mean, it's like a southwestern part of Stockholm. I would say it's like Hackney in London, but south of the city. And so it's a low income area with a lot of people who have the roots in outside Europe, and the municipality usually says we have at least 70 languages spoken in the area, and yeah, almost like 100 different nationalities, people from different places that live here. So in the media, in mainstream media, is always like, you know, if you go into Google, people ask, is it dangerous in Buczyrka, or can you know? So it's like that media image. So what we did, we started this media house to get people who are underrepresented in different ways in the media, and especially youth, to talk about and to tell their stories. So yeah, so that's what we've been doing, and it's through film and radio and pods and, you know, music and theater and all of that. So when we got into this media activism project on the Right to the City, we kind of used what we've done before, and we're good at. It's making young people meet and create media or culture or arts. So what we did with our first Hackcamp, we used the possibility that we had to have 20 young people between ages 16 and 18 to make a magazine that I'm going to show you later. and to make some films and pods. And we asked them, so what is right to the city? What is the right to the city for you? And we mainly gathered like 4 different topics, and the topics were on health, on safety and security, on housing, but also on the freedom, like freedom to be who you are, who you want to be. So in those topics, we made these magazines and films, and then we kind of went on working with these topics. And in the last year, we made some labs, like we went from hack camps to labs and kind of developed this stories, this themes. And we, of course, we always try to get the municipality in, like officials and politicians, to see and to listen and to hear what the young people have to say with their perspectives. So in one of those labs that we made, we actually got some more ideas of projects, and one of them was this one that you're seeing right now, which is called the Mother of Culture. So the Mother of Culture is basically one of the young people had an idea of making like a recipe book, and also about how to garden, how to cultivate your own vegetables and so on. And this woman here, you could see, Saraswati, she's an activist on gardening and urban gardening, and yeah, the right to the soil, you could say. So they teamed up, and we teamed up with the Art Center too. So this is how the Mother of Culture was created. And as you see, we just go back to the roots. You know, we try to see. So this is like a parking lot that we took over with this wooden things, and we started cultivating. And then after a while, you could see almost we got some stuff. So we engaged the young people in the area to come and to cultivate with us, and then to talk about what's the power of getting your own food made and so on. And they filmed it, and we did storytelling about this. So this is how this specific project was done. And we, at the end, we actually invited the mothers of their mothers to a dinner with the stuff that they cultivated by themselves. So that's the story.
Thank you so much for this, Luis. Thank you for explaining this fantastic project. There's loads that you had thrown in there. Like, what I particularly am excited about is this kind of idea of media. Sometimes maybe media has a different portrayal of the areas, no-go zone, danger zone. We touched on that earlier. But actually, you responded in a very good way, very positive way. You created your own media hub. You're kind of training up the future, I don't know, heads of local newspapers or media outlets to kind of almost, I feel like there should be a gig. You should do the rebrand of the city. Your company should do it.
So maybe we can do it.
You know, but I really also love that kind of, again, just going back to this original question of who's got the right to the city. What is the right to the city? You kind of visited these different kind of areas. What I really find also interesting, and particularly maybe because your area is so diverse in terms of you know, people's backgrounds. I mean, the city as a place where you can be free, you can express yourself. I mean, as it happens that I know this, that in the mayor's city, sorry, mayor, what was the?
Savasa Masterot Grabino.
Exactly. In that city, there were also some protests of people kind of trying to be themselves in the city that, you know, they felt maybe they needed to make a statement that it belongs to them and on these terms as well. So, I mean, how did you?
Yeah, we dealt with them pretty severely.
Yeah. Right, civilly. Yeah. Right, extra points for gags. But I just wanted to ask then, Luis, in terms of, because you mentioned the 17 languages spoken there.
70,
okay.
Yeah.
How did you find this? Because how did you find the communication of the ideas of, you know, because what strikes me, you almost, with your project, created a new tradition, almost like you kind of, I don't know, of
Sure.
taking care. Yeah, how did you find that?
No, I mean, of course, the main language that we have together is like, well, it could be English, but it's Swedish mostly. And if you're just new to the country and you just learn, this is the good way of start to expressing yourself in the language that most of the people speak. But then we don't see it as as an obstacle. We just, if you want to do it in Polish or in Spanish or whatever, just go ahead. We have, for example, in our, the people that we like, the pedagogues and the producers that we have in our media house, we're about 15, 20. We speak at least maybe 10 different languages. So we could work together with that. But the most important thing is like the story, like the personal story itself. And if it's going to be a film, or it's going to be a pod, or it's going to be a tune, it's up to you. You know, we just like, we go with any. If you want to make a magazine like this one, like magazine that we've done, it's called Shu. Shu means hi, like or what's up. So I guess that's not a problem. Like what we've done with this 2 years that's been working with Mediactivism specifically, is that we actually taken what we've done before, but we actually got the politicians and the like officials in the municipality to get engaged even more in what the young people are saying, and trying to kind of press on them to reply and to do on and to kind of react on what they've seen or what they hear from the young people. So just tomorrow, for example, we have this big council meeting with young people and politicians, where we're gonna have like a workshop like here, and show them all the texts and films, and we're gonna kind of make them accountable for that, and then we're gonna give them some time to think on solutions that we're gonna talk about in August on our next meeting, for example. So we're trying to get the powers, like we're going to take the people who have power to meet the young people, but we empowered the young people before, so they kind of meet in a. So
they kind of come prepped. They're like ready to, to enter into good conversation. I almost see the way your work. It's almost like not exactly a broker, almost like a creative translation agency, where you kind of get the voices of young people and you bounce them out to the decision makers, but also you're helping the decision makers to understand where young people are coming from. I mean, what's the next step? Get the kind of the city officials to come to you and maybe do some gardening. What's next? I mean, maybe they could relocate their offices there for some time to Budjika.
Yeah, sure. That's a very good ideas to develop. I think, I mean, the most important thing, until now, actually, we didn't have to start a party or anything like Zagreb did, which is so incredible, and I really applaud you for that, because basically the people in power are kind of open to this things, and they actually give us means and money sometimes to do stuff like that. So I guess we have them on our side in a way, but on the other hand, they kind of, we have to again make them accountable for the things that they say they want. They say they want people to that their stories are important for them, and that they want to have them in the middle. They want to have the citizen in the middle, like you, like in the middle. But it's not every time it's like that, so we need to help them to realize that, and we help them to meet the citizens.
Absolutely. I think we do. I mean, I'm not entitled to any opinions being here in the middle, which obviously is not what you're saying. You're saying you want people in the middle to make decisions and voice their opinions. So that's kind of what's happening here. Mayor, did you want to say anything?
Well,
That you inhaled loudly.
I mean, now we've heard, I think, all the presentations. I mean, what are the commonalities? Because it seems like, at least in the last two, and maybe in some of the other ones, it's about controlling the narrative and who is in control of the media. I mean, as a Master Grabino, I own all the newspapers and media outlets, but it seems like in these other cities, they want people to control it, or at least control the narrative, because it seems, especially in Zagreb, who's actually controlling the narrative of what's being said.
I mean, does anybody kind of has a comment they want to throw in about the commonalities? My question is, do people have time and headspace to get involved in these initiatives? Like, what are your kind of experiences, or are people just too trapped in day to day paying their rent? just surviving. Like, how do we kind of get more people involved in this kind of city activism? And I will just say to people on YouTube, if you're watching, there is few people watching us, put your comments in the comment box or questions, and we'll try to bring them here in the next 5 minutes whilst we're kind of wrapping up. But I would like to encourage anybody who hasn't yet spoken, maybe people who are kind of like listening here on Zoom, about your impressions, thoughts, anything that you're kind of thinking about for your own projects, your own cities, anything that sparked of some solutions. This is your time. So whoever wants to go, just please take it away. We are not scared of silences.
I think there was something very sort of, it seemed like there was a kind of something, a sort of real spiritual side to quite a lot of these projects, like a new sort of relationship between people and people in cities and nature. There was a lot of like people putting their hands into soil and like gardening and sort of getting quite up and close and personal to nature. And it was just making me wonder whether, like, if you were going to construct like a right to the city and list things under it, like maybe like one of those rights would be to like somehow like have your hands in the ground, or like have your hands in earth. I don't, something. I'm just talking nonsense.
Sometimes you have to get your hands dirty, I think is what you're saying.
Yeah. So maybe we're kind of workshopping some slogans for the rebrand of just kind of, the activism, maybe not rebrand, just like emphasizes the message. Go and experience something viscerally. I think also it's not just an idea, it's not just a concept. Things can happen, you can make a difference, and you can feel the earth on the way as well.
It's like there's so many sort of problems, and then somehow they kind of get resolved, like touching the earth.
Right. So spiritual side, feel the ground. Georgia, you wanted to chime in?
We just got a comment from a YouTuber, Marcus Beltrain. He's saying, or she, I think giving places, i.e. objective chunks of nature, legal personality is something underlying a lot of what has been presented. Basically, it seems human rights style entrepreneurial legal work as a winner. So I like that whole thought of a human right of having the right to a city, but in terms of the actual land and being able to use the land to cultivate and grow food, as it sort of being a human right. What do we think about that?
Okay, so have we forgotten? Menno, do you want to respond to this? Thank you, Georgia.
Thank you very much for the whole show also. My name is Menno Wijs, and I work for the European Cultural Foundation, which is also the coordinator of this project. I totally agree, but thank you. I totally agree with the comment about the right to the city being a human right, but it's not just the right on the actual land, it's the right to take decisions that concern your own environment. And I think we have seen a variety of cases that have a lot of similarities, and the main similarity is that it is all about people that take the power into their own hands and influence decision making, whether they do that in collaboration with the municipality, or they have to found their own party and get into power. That's the similarity they all have. It's people changing their city. But at the same time, of course, the topics on which they change their city is very different. But there's another thing about this which has not been very much in the picture yet, and it was also not the topic, but I think what we see here is also special because we see in various different cities within Europe, we see similar and different perspectives that we normally don't hear about. For example, many of you haven't heard there were 2 major earthquakes in Zagreb this year, for example. And these connecting these perspectives also contributes to the development of some kind of European public sphere, because what we normally see is very much in media and mainstream media. I agree, it's about who controls the narrative, and a narrative is very nationally controlled usually, traditionally, because you have like national broadcasters, both public and commercial, newspapers that are national, and they also, because of language, of course, you hear very much things from the perspective of your own country, or you see stuff on social media, but that's controlled by major big tech companies that just want to make profit, and they don't care about democracy and who gets to speak. They have algorithms that just make you click on the things that they can earn the most money with. And I think what's special about this project, and then I stop because I realize I talk quite long, but it's connecting all those different projects and right to the city cases into some kind of a European conversation about what is a shared European interest. And I think that is very important to mention as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Menno. Yes, you have spoken for a little while, but you've made a lot of really interesting points, which I feel they kind of tie into the discussion as it's been kind of unfolding. I really love this idea of this kind of, connecting perspectives, but maybe what we will do in the future by more events like this, we will create a new brand of a tourist who doesn't go in and tarnish everything. Maybe, we'll see perspectives kind of more Europeanly informed, and take control and kind of put steps in place to start changing the city. I really love that. But is there also a question about, cities kind of losing that kind of a rough edge? If we kind of over-prescribe everything, kind of over-manage, is there a danger the cities may lose their old kind of, roughness, or will they kind of gain new identity, new branding? Who knows? But the idea about connecting people and people acting together and us creating a new media outlet, I really like that.
I feel like there's a lot of hands up, so there's a few people I think want to speak. So let's bring in some. I think Milena, you look like you were going to say something, and also Luis as well.
Take it away, Milena.
I can't hear you. That's the problem.
Oh, okay. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay.
Sorry.
Thank you for letting us know. I was just bigging up what Menno was saying, and kind of also saying that it's about kind of connecting these perspectives, and we are kind of doing it here. And we are kind of closing this meeting because we've overrun a little bit, which is a shame. But maybe there will be another opportunity to have a chat. Because we like to do final thoughts. If there are any points in the conversation today that anybody would like to throw in, say something, I feel like it's kind of bearing on them, give yourself 30 seconds maximum to make that point.
There's still time for final thoughts, I think, yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Let us know what you think. Somebody wants to, Lucas, I would throw in some points from the UK. Yes, please do.
No, but it was just about joke about the Eurovision the other day. I don't know if you had the chance to look at it. And if you were representing Eurovision, you would have gotten much more points than me.
Absolutely. Well, thank you. Maybe we need a new council for how the Eurovision votes are being parceled out. Yeah. Does it always have to be so political? I don't know.
Question. How would it work? How would Eurovision work if it was run by citizens? Would we get the same result?
And could trees enter the competition?
Yes.
Which forest makes the best sound? I mean, these are all the kind of questions. Thank you for bringing Eurovision. There's always room for that 12 points to all, says Eva. Thank you very much. Any other final thoughts, people? This is your chance, and people on YouTube, this is like the final chance before we move on.
And anything that we need to add to the map of Sawaza Mastok Grabino as well.
Exactly. Let's have a quick journey through the map just to take you back to some of these issues and solutions. This may be the last time you're seeing this beautiful city, because it may be all covered in Pepsi adverts or Coke, I don't know. Or Amnesty International. So here we are. So we're here in the city. It's about kind of connections. And it's about getting young people and all the generations kind of involved in putting their hands in the soil to really feel the connection with the city.
We've got the bishop is maybe not putting his hand in the soil,
Yeah,
but
could we-
actually putting his
He's
digger into the soil.
yeah,
Anyway,
he's
Laura's got a point here, so let's just go
Laura.
to Laura. Final
Thank
thoughts.
you. No, I would like to say that because now the conversation seems to change to Eurovision, blah blah blah. But I wanna take how can I say a change. Like I connect with the Eurovision to say if an event like yesterday, on the other day, on Saturday, if an event like Eurovision make all together and we speak about this kind of event, is because you see that you can find a connection in music, and I think is missed a lot event like this, because you see that how I don't remember the name, like someone say we don't have a broadcast an international broadcast, we don't have international news, and you see when you have an event like this that you feel more connected with the people from other countries, and especially in Europe. So it will be wonderful if we can organize more events like this, but also connect it to other kind of object and not only music. If we can organize something bigger to connect.
Could there be a Eurovision activism competition?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I reckon Seva Master or Grabino will host it.
We'll host it for sure.
We've
and we'll
got the
probably win
venue.
it.
We've got the venue. But it's a really great point. Can we stretch out this kind of European togetherness beyond the whimsy of the music competition? Can we actually do hardcore activism done in a creative way as something that brings us together? So thank you, Laura. Any more? This is your chance. Otherwise, well, I don't know. Then you won't say anything.
People that haven't said anything yet, like I'm just going to name them now: Larice, Majid, Yera, Helen, Rosie. Say something. What do you think of this? You're on the Zoom call. Come on, have a final thought for us.
Okay, I have two final thoughts. One, I love the points about listening to specific communities and going into the communities and actually talking to the people and reaching them. I thought that was great. And also, I love Laura's idea about a activism type Eurovision. That's awesome. So yeah, those are my points.
Thank you, Larice. Thank you so much. What in your area? What would be like the kind of, the exciting thing about the area that you are in? What do you think people would latch on to?
Probably music, art, a bit of everything really. East London's got a bit of everything. They're pretty cool. So
Right, so we've got the East London vibes representing. Thank you, Larice. Anyone else who hasn't spoken? We're running out of time here. We even have a sound effect for it, but it's currently sleeping. All right, I'm going to scan the screen and there's no more. Lucas is liking the sound effect, I can tell. Do we need to kind of close it? Charlie, is there any kind of closing thoughts? Thanks or...
Yeah, I mean, the main thing is just to say, thanks, really. Thanks to you, the People Speak. Thank you to Rick for his amazing work on Savras Grabino.
It's Sawazam Master Rock Grabino.
Charlie.
Thank you everybody who's watching on YouTube and who's been in the Zoom call today or this evening. It's been great. I've had a great time.
Fantastic.
But I think we've all had a good time.
I think that's fair to say that everybody had a really good time. So remember, people, yes, connect with each other. Come and visit our city at thepeoplespeak.org.uk. All you need to know is there, but we're really grateful to have been here with you. And a massive round of applause to Rick for just bringing our beautiful city to life. I hope that gave you lots of ideas, and you'll be able to see that on our channel. So yeah, do connect and do have a fantastic project. I'm loving the glasses. Keep it 3D, Lewis and everyone. And we're going to do the outro music now. And people, thank you very much. Thank you, Rick. Thank you, Mikey, Georgia, Charlie, and to all of you. Say hello to your cities from us.
Thank you.
Such a tune. We are still going live.